Hello everyone, welcome to another video of Python playlist. Now in this video, we are going to answer one of the most common question which people have, that is whether Python is a compiler based language or an interpreter based language. So before we answer this question, we have to have a basic understanding of how a compiler or an interpreter works. So a compiler or interpreter basically converts a high level language into a low level language. Yeah, that's as simple as it is. So what do we mean by high level language? A high level language is something it is understandable to us humans, like hashtag define, import, print, for loop, if else condition, those are the ones. And what do we mean by low level of machine language? It is basically a sequence of binaries, that is zeros and ones, which makes sense to machine. Okay, so that's all you have to know about compiler and interpreter working for following up the next steps. So let's go ahead and see how exactly compiler and interpreter are different. Now in this flow chart, if you're able to see the flow chart here, so you could see compiler is something that converts whole code into machine code, whereas interpreter is something which converts single statement into machine code. Now you might take a minute to register it, but I have an easier way to do that. Now let me give you a very simple example. Suppose you are a chef at a restaurant and you are aware of English but you don't know Hindi, and the chef or the recipe book has all the recipes or the steps written in Hindi. Now how could you follow the steps? There are two basic ways, right? The first way being your recipe has already been converted into English or has been translated into English, and you could read through the steps and follow, like go ahead with your dish. And the second way is, if you have a friend who is aware of Hindi and English both, he could translate you line by line so that you could follow on the steps and the conversion happens after each and every line. So the first part is your compiler, how the compiler based language works. It basically converts or translates the whole set of code into machine code. And in the second case, as your friend is translating each and every step to you from Hindi to English, this is how interpreter works. It basically converts each statement into a machine code. Now as you can see in here, whenever you're passing the code through a compiler, it converts it to object code and converts the file to an executable file, and from there the output is received. But in case of interpreter, when your code reaches the interpreter, the line, like the first line is getting printed in here as the output, and then the second line moves, or the interpreter moves to the second line, it reads the second line and prints the output. Okay, so which one do you think is faster? Of course the compiler based one, right? Because here you don't have to depend on your friend to make the conversion at each and every line. Basically you have a set of translated lines and you could directly read and follow through the steps, right? Now let me like talk about the disadvantage of each and every kind of line. Now in the previous example, as you remember, as for the compiler based language, the code is, or the recipe is already translated from Hindi to English. Now suppose I make some changes in one of the steps, so how would the chef come to know about that? He has to compile or translate the whole set of steps from Hindi to English again, and then he will be able to come ahead with the update that has happened to each or any one of the steps, right? But in second case, suppose I am updating step 2 or step number 3, so your friend could exactly read the following or the particular step, that is the third statement that has been updated, and he could like update you with the steps. So that is basically one of the disadvantages you could find with compiler based, which is advantageous in case of interpreter based language. Now let's hop on to code. Now see, okay, in this code you can see whenever I'm trying to run now, what's the error in here? Could you guys figure it out already? I have already explained it to you. So here statement 3 is a variable, but it hasn't been declared anywhere. So let's try to run this code. Yeah, you can see we are getting statement 3 is not defined. Yeah, we have already expected the error. But if you see the first two lines, statement 1 and 2 are getting printed. Why does it happen? Because Python is an interpreter based language, and the interpreter basically read the first line, it printed the output. It came to second line, printed the output. When it came to third line, it came across with an error. So it printed the error and it exited the code, or it halted the program there only. What if we are talking about C? Now C, C++, Java are basically compiler based language which needed to be compiled before running. So what if we try to run this? Yeah, here you can see there are no print statements for statement 1 and 2 because the whole code is getting converted to machine code, and it basically identifies that there is an error at statement 3, so it halts the total program without printing statement 1 or 2. So that's how you could even find the difference between a language, whether it's an interpreter or compiler based language. You could simply run through print statements and check whether the print is happening fine or is it halting the whole program, and there you could identify the difference between both of these languages. Okay, so I guess that's all for the video. Now yeah, please do like, share, subscribe, and if you have any doubts or you need any more explanation to any of the concepts I have explained so far, feel free to ping in the comment section. Thank you guys.